Well, bienvenida, a warm welcome to pool fans to the sparkling arena at the Gandia Palace Hotel on the stunning Mediterranean coast in Spain. This is the Predator Spanish Open, the last EuroTour of 2025, and it's Tembul. You join us for the men's losers qualification match, a place to going for in the last 32, a matchup between the Estonian Dennis Grabe and Marco SPITZKY of Germany. My name is Gethin Davis. It's my pleasure to be joined in the comms box for this opening match of day 3 with my good friend and colleague Aya Sarabi. Aya, this is going to be an interesting lineup, I feel.
Yes, good morning, Gethin. Good morning, pool fans from wherever you're watching. It definitely is Gethin, and what do you know? These two guys have met each other in the same tournament in the winners round 1. And on that occasion, it was Marco SPITZKY who won the match 8-6. So it'll be interesting to see how this one will pan out. Yesterday, actually the 2 matches of Dennis. But, you know, towards the end, at times he looked a little bit uninterested, a little bit too casual. There'll be none of that here, I'm sure. As his opponent has already shown, he's more than capable to take whatever he presents him. And as we have a look at this first rack, it's a little bit unfortunate for Dennis. He had a solid hit, but as you can look, the table is nicely spread, no balls down, so we'll have a chance to see Marco to run out, well, to start his campaign here.
He does have a good look at the one, Aya. And the balls have spread pretty nicely from Dennis's break, but the 6 could cause a bit of trouble with the 8 blocking it into the right corner, but Marco needs to get there first. But not a bad early opener for him. And it is alternate break format.
Yeah, do you know
so
what?
Both players will get a break of, will get a set of 2 breaks each, and then it will alternate to the other player. And you were saying, Aya?
What I was trying to say is, when you have a quick glance of the players still battling to book their place in the last 32, some of these players are absolutely, well, title contenders for the, at the very least. We've got none other than Ralph Souquet battling it out. A handful of, well, actually 2 hands full of the Polish contingents. One of the most well-known of them is, of course, Wojciech Szewczak. He is out there trying to book his place. We've also got our very own from the Netherlands, Jan van Lierop. He's currently on table 9 playing Adam Stankiewicz. And we also have Mario Hay, who's also out there trying to book his place. So there's a lot of top quality players trying to book their place in the last 32. So it'll be a very, very interesting conclusion to this year's Spanish Predator EuroTour, that's for sure.
Yeah, agreed. A lot of talent out there. I don't know if you caught that, Aya, but the 8 that was blocking the 6, Marco took with an early combination with a lot of distance between the balls, making it look rather easy. And, well, he has fallen a little bit short on this 7, but he's come out of the starting gate absolutely firing.
I was about to say, as good as the shot was on the 8, as poor that positional shot was from the 6 to 7. That is shocking by his standard. Seems to have retrieved the situation, although this is looking like a very awkward shot. Gethin, I don't know, how do you look at this shot?
Well,
I
think he's going to be forced into the bank. Yeah, there really clearly looks like an in-off into the center pocket if he was going to go down the long rail. So that was a tester. But he may have got away with this if the 9 rests against the cushion. It hasn't, but he didn't
Dennis will have
exactly
a crack
sell
at
it.
this. No, exactly, but Dennis will definitely have a crack at this long straight bank, you'd think. Oh, he's actually considering to play safe. So this is what I meant. Like yesterday, in one of my final matches, having had this man in the pleasure to do commentating, he was, well, just walking around as if it didn't mean nothing to him. It wasn't even taking time. But now you can clearly see he understands the task in hand. You can't just take too many liberties. And he's played safe. But I'll tell you what, yesterday it wouldn't have taken him more than 5 seconds to play the bank. So that shows in itself he knows what he's up against.
Full length bank. Actually not bad contact.
Yeah, with these kick shots, particularly when the table has been a little bit worn out over the past few days, weeks actually, the cushions, they tend to react a little bit more lively.
Yeah, again, a containing safety area. You mentioned the last few weeks. We did indeed have the Little Monster International Men's and Mixed Doubles Open that Dennis was taking part in both, even making the final of the men's discipline. He's been playing a lot of pool in Gandia over the past 2 weeks. But as Marco responds, he says, well, you put me in that position 2 times, Dennis. I'm going to have a crack at that. And makes the 9 with shape on the 10.
Not a bad kick shot, is it?
Not at all. And I'm just wondering if a Dennis Grabe that decided to bank that may have finished this rack a little earlier in his favour. He decided against it. So Marco takes the first rack against the break while we take a look at our other stream table at the moment. That's a matchup between the Swede, Walter Leica, and Alex Kazakis of Greece. That's going to be, well, on paper, maybe a tough match for Walter, but he's been playing very well so far in this tournament. As we bring it back to Dennis Grabe's second break of his set of 2 breaks. Oh, and the 1 ball has just crept into the corner pocket. Again, not a bad spread.
No, not at all. And it's looking like a decent chance, to be honest with you.
Both players have got a good rhythm around the table. When they're running balls, they can put the numbers on the board very quickly.
Yeah, exactly. And let's not forget, both of these gentlemen in this match have won a EuroTour or even more. So, they're more than accustomed to go all the way. Just needs to make sure that the 8 will not be a hindrance, either in his cueing or setting up the shot with his bridge hand. Yeah, nicely done. Absolutely perfect on the 7 here. Same rule applies here now with the 10 ball. Ideally, you want to avoid running into the 10 or the, factor in the 10. I think this is confident enough for him. He's a tall lad, so he can easily reach. I think it's pretty straightforward to just run the cue ball off 2 rails for the 9. Although whatever angle he leaves himself on the 9 will be important, because that 10 ball is not out in the open. He'll need to leave himself a nice angle on the 9.
Ooh, forced it in. The 8 had a little rattle. But yeah, you're right there, Aya. He's been taking a little bit of extra time over this 10 ball. It's not in the prettiest of spots.
He can draw this one back, you know. He's got a little bit angle, but he can play a nice, confident, you know, deep screw back with a little bit of side. Well, he's going forward. That's also an option. Yeah, nicely played.
Well,
has he called an
as
extension?
we alluded to,
yeah, I think he has.
Milk him the moment. Why not? Second rack.
Nah, he realizes how important this is. He needs to, you know, compose himself, take a little bit of extra time. As you can see in the screen, Alex Kazakis on the other side of the arena. Like we said, a lot of heavy hitters still left in the field.
Well, you're talking of heavy hitting, Aya. That's our first break and run, and that was the second of Dennis's set of 2 breaks. So positive signs for him there. The score at 1 apiece. Be interesting to see how Marco's been finding the break over the past 2 days.
Just in general, the break has been pretty challenging for all the players. As you can see clearly, we've got, you know, world-class players still remaining in the field, but, you know, because of that break box, it's never been a guarantee to have a shot after the break. We'll have a closer look to see whether Marco can create a chance here on his break.
Got a lot of whip on the cue ball as well, and I can hear balls dropping in my left ear aplenty. Has the 2 come to hamper his shape on the 1? Look at where the balls have spread out to.
Yeah, unfortunately, it's not of any use to him as of right now, unless he takes a very risky jump. Yeah, I think this is the more sensible shot. Well, actually, he is trying to bait his opponent for the long jump. I don't think Dennis is interested. Yeah, well, look, we've talked about this on numerous occasions. The average level of these top pro players have gone through the roof over the years. And in this era of pool billiards, these are the type of jumps that are considered as well, definitely a half chance. As you can see, they're very, very close. But unfortunately, I think he's left it up. Yeah, he has. So this is a good chance now for Dennis to poke his nose in front. I wanted to ask you this, Gethin. I don't know how you stand on this, but for me, I always felt like, regardless of the level of the player or their accolades, the fastest way to settle is not by doing the obvious, is putting racks on the board, but is to, you know, clear a rack clean, like with perfect position.
Well, I agree, but there needs to be a little bit of challenge in the rack. If it's just as straightforward as if you've just put the balls in really easy positions to not avoid traffic, to be able to avoid traffic and that, then maybe that's a false sense of security. If you've had to navigate a problem or 2 and everything's gone exactly how you planned it, I think that will give you the best of internal momentum.
Yeah, interesting insights. I agree. Q1, what's the pace?
Ooh, seems
Yeah.
to keep rolling down there.
Yeah, but that's fine. I was thinking, as long as it's not landing right in front of the 8, it's okay. This is not perfect, of course, but you should be able to control the cue ball. Just a medium pace drawback. All he needs to do is focus on the pot. Don't overcook it, and it should be on the 8. Although he needs to be a little bit careful, because it is a little bit deceiving. Once the the object ball is close to the corner, if you land straight, it becomes all of a sudden very awkward. So he needs to still take care of this.
Yeah, was able to track the cue ball down the table. He's got the 9 in a similar position to where he had the 10 in the last rack. So he'll be looking to get the cue ball to a similar spot.
All he needs to do is land straight-ish on the 9, because the 10 is sitting there over the middle bag. Yeah, that's perfect. So that's going to be 2-1 for Dennis. And it's, you know, he's broken serve on his opponent.
Well, that he has. And you were mentioning we've been playing for quite a few days. This Predator EuroTour event, we're only on day 3, but before this, we had the Little Monsters men's, women's, and mixed doubles International Open. And, well, Dennis teamed up with Pia Filler in that, and she is actually playing in the EuroTour women's event this week. And we have the losers' third round women's matches taking place at the moment on other tables in the arena. If you want to keep up to date of the scores and the fixtures coming up today and tomorrow, please do visit epbf.com. You'll get live scores. And like I mentioned, table numbers, start times, and all the information you need to keep you on top of your favorite players. Marco SPITZKY with his second of his set of 2 breaks.
What I've noticed about Marco's break is he tends to put a lot of topspin on, a little bit more than some of the other players. So, you know, I think if he could potentially play it with a little bit more stun run through, I think he'll get actually more power into the, you know, the breaking ball.
Well, the 2 looks like it passes the 4 up there, but being able to get position on it, well, that's a different kettle of fish. Can he force this with a lot of top right, maybe to bring it past the 7 and round the 2 angles? It's quite a heavy shot.
I missed that by a mile. No, I'm just joking. He played a safety.
Yeah, well, good cover.
Yeah. Do you know what? If he can make this jump, he's got a chance to land nicely on the 2. You know, it's not easy. It could be a chance. Luckily, it's not 9 ball, so his opponent will be back at the table, or at least he's got the option to put him back in if he wants to. Yeah, no hesitation there.
While he's got his jump stick out, it just seems prudent. Oh, the 1 banged into the 8 and has rolled over behind the 9, I think. Oh, yeah, there may be a thin edge on the right-hand side, but Marco's got away with that somewhat. And
yeah, absolutely, and it's landed awkward.
Well, I was about to say the 2 ball had locked in safe against the 6. That problem's been somewhat resolved. But more importantly, Dennis
put him back in trouble. Yeah, that was a pretty easy hit. The only thing I would say is he's failed to create a bit more distance. If that 1 could have crept past the 8, it would have been a lot harder to hit. It's still just a 1 rail hit. So Dennis should be able to hit the 1 and actually try and control the cue ball in doing so. Oh, he's called a 1 where he's potted it. And it's still okay. I can he should be able to see the left side of the 2. Very limited with his cue ball, of course, as it's stuck to the rail. Yeah, he's looking at the real first kick shot here. He's got a good chance to hook his opponent with a cue ball. And that's a lovely play there by Dennis Grabe.
Yeah,
Now
that will force a 2-rail escape minimum.
yeah, and you could say advantage Dennis here. Well, why is he going to from the left side? Surely there's a bit more traffic. I did call the 2 in the middle, and he got very close.
I have to agree with your earlier sentiment, Arya, when he was playing that shot. We had a similar position in our last match yesterday, where the player played the 2-rail escape, but there was only ever going to be space that the balls were going into, as you quite rightly pointed out. You had the 3, 7 and 10 on the left side to possibly provide cover, and, well, he was never going to get cover going that way. Really, he was then forced to make that pot in the centre bag, which was not really a high percentage shot. But look what Dennis has done to himself here.
Ooh, have a look at the line. Oh.
Ooh, wasn't far off.
He was playing that, you know, cue ball behind the 6.
Well, both players not getting it their own way. A little safety tussle.
Yeah, but this is still a little chance. You can have a poke at this. Long pot. Yeah. Look, I would be more than happy to take on a shot like that if you leave me one of them. So it's still, well, he's a little bit too high on this 5. Might have to use the 8 if he wants to. It's a very risky shot, but he can play it. No, he's trying to run into the 6. That's gone wrong.
Ooh.
Well, no, actually not. He's been a little bit fortunate, all things considered.
Has he hooked himself? He's having a good look, are you? That cue ball looks pretty tight in there. Well, indications are that he can make the pot. Oh, you were right, Arya. He did get away with that somewhat. Was able to make the pot and position on this 7.
And I think he's left himself a good angle here on the 7. To cross over the middle line. Oh! Failed to pot the 7. Played it with a bit more pace. Hit both of the jaws. He'll be very disappointed with that. That was a good chance. Likely to be a safety return here by Dennis, but if you're in his shoes, all you're as far as you're concerned, you're just happy to be back at the table. Yeah, that's not a hook. In fact, this 7 is cuttable, and there is an argument to say it's definitely the right shot to go for. Not so sure whether it'll get a better chance. It's not an easy pot, of course. But it's one of those you fancy these top players to make.
You nailed it, Arya.
Somewhat. It stopped just in time. I always find it fascinating how these pool players just desperately try to avoid using the bridge, as they call it.
Yeah, especially myself coming from a little bit more snooker in my younger days. It was one of the first things you were taught to use. In fact, it was probably easier for us at 4 foot tall to play with the rest, the extension as well as the cue.
Yeah, but you know, aside from that, it is still a piece of equipment that is there for a reason. So I would suggest, if you know it's not your strongest suit, maybe put some time on it. in practice.
Yeah, wise words as Marco SPITZKY gets the score back to 2-2. That's the first 2 sets of breaks for each player complete. And the scoreline, 2-2, would suggest that they are having it all their own way with the breaks, but it's not going exactly that way. We have had a break and run in rack 2 from Dennis. He'll be looking to put in another one here. But yeah, not being able to break inside the box has certainly been a bit more of a leveler with regards to them getting that consistency they're probably more accustomed to in 10-ball tournaments. So another dry break.
What it has done, though, you know, the breaking box, it's created more of a level playing field, I feel. Even though all of these players are very, very good and very adaptable with their strategies, but such as the difficulty degree of the break, none of them are running away easily. So we'll, you know, we as neutral spectators can see a lot more back and forward, which, you know, makes for a good match, good viewing.
Yeah, and well, I'm not saying that the world-class players always get it their own way, but this certainly does give us an insight into how they react when they're not getting the momentum that they so are used to and desire. And it really does bring the players out of their shell. And we've seen some really good grinds from the top players.
Here's a little quiz for you, Gethin.
Let's go.
What do you get if you're playing the losers qualification? It's hill and you miss with ball in hand.
Well, I know back in Wales, you would probably have to play the next shot with your trousers by your ankles. But that's not the answer you're looking for.
Pause. No. No.
Yeah,
A
we
migraine.
used to have a thing back home, Arya, that if you missed shot with ball in hand, you had to drop your pants for the next shot. I'm sure that doesn't stand today, but you certainly never miss ball in hand.
Likely to go around the left side of the 9. It is the natural angle. Might look a little tricky, but in all honesty, it's the natural angle. We've tried to avoid it. That's the only problem with that is, you know, a little bit closer to the rail. Still fine. He's got a good enough angle here on the 8 to play this with a bit more pace. The slower you hit these type of shots, the harder they become. So it's actually in his favor to, you know, push the cue through with a little less hesitation.
Deep screw needed for this one.
Yeah, this is all about, it's two things, two parts in this shot: the timing and also how you putt the 9. If you putt it straight, yeah, that's fine. Then it's easy to control the cue ball. If you putt it in the wrong side of the pocket, all of a sudden the cue ball can go to a trajectory where it's, you know, not in your favor. But that was played to perfection as he regains the lead once again, 3-2. As we have a little closer look to what's been going on the other tables, well, one player in particular who's run off the races is Jakub Shrobot from Poland. He's 5-0 up against Ivica Putnik. They're currently on a timeout. Quietly, very understandable, of course. We've got Alex Kazakis, that's tied 2-all in the other table, on table number 1, which is also available on our YouTube channel. Max Lechner 4-1 up against Francesco Candela. And if you want to watch or at least have an eye on the proceedings on the other tables, you can head over to the EPBF.com website. And if you select the EuroTour and press on the drawing results, you can see all the results updated there.
Well, not really got much of a look after the break on the 1. So we'll play the push. That will give Dennis the choice to take this on or give it back to his opponent. And yes, you mentioned the EPBF website. We do have the losers' third round of the women's taking place as we watch this match. And following on after this round of matches, we have the men's last 32 kicking off at midday local time, and also the women's winners qualification. So we're really getting to the business end of the Spanish Open EuroTour. Big names, big matches, but more importantly, as you've just seen from Marco there, big shots. Dennis gave it him back, and he said thank you very much.
Likely to play safe here. I think he's trying to control the 2 off the 4 ball. And trying to hide a cue ball behind a 5. Yeah, that's... I'm not so sure whether he's called the 4. It doesn't matter if he has called the 4, because he'll get this shot back anyway. Yeah, has to kick it off the rail.
Yep, good point, Arya. Cool shot in this 10-ball format. If you make a ball that you did not call, your opponent can choose to continue themselves, or in certain instances, as in this case, where he would be snookered on the 2, is to give it back. And that will not be good enough. It looks like the 6 has not come to save him on this occasion. Yeah, the cue ball should just track up perpendicular to the long rail here. And where the red 3 is, he should be all right. He's gone into it instead.
Needs to make up his mind here if he wants to stay on the short side, so the high, higher up the table, or draw it all the way back, just not to flirt with the 6. Well, he had a bit more angle than I thought he had. It's thin enough to check the cue ball. Yeah, nicely played. Yeah, so likely has to pot the 8 off the 9 into the right middle pocket. So it will be in his best interest to leave himself in the perfect spot on the 8 with a cue ball.
I was just wondering what he was looking at there. Is he going to play the 8 off the 9, but the 9's coming too low?
No, that's exactly what he's trying to do. Pot the 8 off the 9.
Well, he's got the cue ball where he wanted it. He's just come for a second look. Interesting shot. Ooh. tried to play it
That's
without.
no. He's trying to use the 9, but that was, well, unfortunately, he's gone horribly wrong. He's
Yeah,
left it over the hole.
These Predator arc tables have very tight center pockets. We've seen them disallow a few attempts at it, but on this occasion, not a very good time for Dennis to do what he just did. He had a good chance to extend his lead to 2, winning both of his set of 2 breaks instead. Marco gets a very, well, you'd have to say simple looking to steal it at the end. And the score's back to 3-3, Aya. Well, this could go either way at the moment. Just having a quick look at our other TV table that is taking place at the moment. It appears that Walter Leica is actually 3-2 up on Alexander Kazakis there. So it looks like the Swede has got off to a good start, continuing his form from earlier in the tournament. And now we get to see Marco with his second round of 2 breaks. Will this be the time that he can steal a march in this race to 8? Ooh, the cue ball just took a knock from the 5. It was indeed, yeah, he made a ball off the break. I was just a little bit worried after the cue ball contacted the 5 that it was going towards the corner pocket. It would have been a very unfortunate way to scratch.
Well, this is a clear instance where you can see why, when we're talking about the perfect break, if executed technically perfect, the cue ball should be, well, center table. If that was the case, is probably running this rack out. Now it's safety exchange, tactical exchange. It's not like he's hit the 1 bad or the cue ball bad for that matter. It's just a little nudge here and there can make all the world of a difference.
Again, I'm going to bring you in on this. That's the second time Dennis has had a push shot from his opponent, and he hasn't even begun to get out of his chair to even look at it and just gives it straight back. The last time, Marco potted the ball. This time he scratched, so it's a bit difficult to back up either of his decisions there.
Well, I mean, I'll give him some leeway. These are like very seasoned players, so within an instant they'll know whether they fancy the overall the risk reward side of the shot. So I'm sure with a quick glance he'll know, well, I don't see the actual rewards in this shot. So it's not always where you have to get out of your chair. I'm sure that chair is pretty warm and cozy. So that's where I stand on that. Is sometimes, yes, I think for me it's when you're playing safe, and I've used this phrase a couple of times, is lazy shot making. So for example, you're playing safe or you're trying to hook your opponent. It makes a world of a difference whether the cue ball or the cue ball is absolutely glued to the snookering ball, or it's just it's enough, it's a hook. Well, it's usually not enough, because if you leave them a jump opportunity, more often than not they jump it and they run the rack, and that for me is lazy play. But in that case, well, like I said, these players are very seasoned, so when they can see instantly whether it's even worth taking the risk or not. But I see where you're coming from. It sometimes can be deceived, perceived as, well, uninterested.
Well, Dennis ran into the 5 there, which pushed the 5 into a tricky spot where he didn't have a line up to the corner. There was a shot to the center bag, but he would have been running away from the green 6, so he's just put Marco in a safety. He didn't lock the cue ball against the 6, as you were mentioning there, Aya, can be a real powerful tool. Ooh, he's missed that 2-railer by a way, Aya.
Yeah, absolutely. He missed it by at least 2 full balls, so that's a little bit shocker to the system. But that safety option by Dennis has seemed to pay dividends. A little bit too hard, you think? Yeah. Luckily enough for him, the 8 is in such an open spot. At worst case, he can leave himself a mid-distance shot here on the 8.
Having a nice conversation with our colleague Mark White, who was on our other TV table commentating, and he was singing the praises of Dennis and his family. They do a lot for the sport back in Estonia and run a billiard school, and brings a lot and provides a lot to the community back in Estonia. We saw him and the more junior players at the EuroTour in Tallinn a few months back. And he still finds time to get to these events.
Meanwhile,
and perform.
I cannot tell you what he's tried to play there.
Yeah, I wasn't going to say anything.
Although he made light work of that, but it was as good, as bad as the previous shot was, as good as the recovery shot was on the 10. No,
he was looking to
4-3
back up the praises. He was looking to back up the praises I was singing. Thank you very much, Mr. Grabe. Now, this is getting to a nice point in the game, Aya, where one player in a very swift move could get a 2-rack advantage, which will really ask questions of their opponent. Marco's going to have to do it from 1 rack behind, but you just feel if one player now can just get a good grip of this game, possibly starting with the break, this is not over for either player.
No, exactly. And oh, that's a good break. Have a look at this. You see where the cue ball is stopped? That's the biggest difference. In the previous rack, had a similar solid contact with the 1. Unfortunately, lost his cue ball. Therefore, he wasn't able to run the rack. Now, the cue ball is stopped dead, pretty much in the middle of the table. And all of a sudden, he's got a chance here to run the rack. What a good break that was.
Yeah, and both these players looking to book their place in the last 32. Just having a quick flick through some of the names that have already qualified. We've got the tough German Stefan Kasper. We've got the young junior under-19 boys world champion, recently crowned Felix Vogel is in. Tobias Bongers, the exciting Mohamed Sufi, Matthias Snogocki, and needs no introduction, Albin Ushan. So this event is going to get tougher and tougher, and that can only be good for us at home and us in the box, Aya.
Yeah, any tournament you've got someone like Albin Ushan who's got, who's won everything there is to be won in the game. You're going to get a very, very exciting outcome of that tournament. Meanwhile, a textbook break and run here by Marco SPITZKY. A fabulous break. Beautifully controlled his cue ball. And ever since, just connected the dots and this 10 to make it 4-all. Well, he was just alluding to this at the beginning of the rack, Gethin. I think this is definitely a pattern we see often, especially with this 2 breaks per player alternate break, is right at around the halfway mark. So from 5 racks on, whoever gets to gets a 2 rack advantage has a very strong lead indeed.
And also the momentum at a key time. The alternate break format with the set of 2 breaks per player, it really has the chance to upset the momentum, but with the break and with the rule around the break box, not being able to break in the break box, making the consistency that little bit harder to grab. Once one player, and we've seen this before, once one player can really get their break down, it asks a question from their opponent, and it's only one dry break later, you can see a 3-rack swing, 3-4-rack swing. And, well, it's just this little milestone. It's normally with the hill, but in this format, it can be even to 6, and or rather 2 away from the win, because there is that chance when you get back in, you can run your 2, break and run your 2, and that's it, it's over. So your partner, or your opponent rather, will be quite happily sitting there on the hill feeling quite comfortable. He's 1 ahead, but it's your break, and you've got 2 opportunities now to take the match. And it's just that extra dimension of excitement and uncertainty. You really do get to see some different results and different roles even. It's great. Looks like Dennis's opponent has taken a break, which will give us a quick opportunity just to keep our viewers updated for today's play. Following after this match, it will be at midday local time, will be the men's last 32 getting underway, which is where these 2 gentlemen are playing for a spot in. We also have the women's winners qualification kicking off at midday. That's in just over 2 hours from now. And tomorrow, day 4, is semi-finals and finals of the men's and women's event. It's going to be a fun day, always exciting on finals day, but this is where the real fireworks begin now. Double elimination has come to an end. I'm just looking over at the other table with Alex Kazakis. Playing the Swede Walter Leica. And it looks like he's extended his lead to 5-2 over Alexander Kazakis of Greece. So that looks like it's heating up very nicely over on our other TV table. Here we're locked at 4-4. Dennis Grabe to start his rack set of 2 breaks. Nearly scratches, avoids the scratch, and has shape on the 1 after making a ball. So not a bad response from the break. I think he's called the combination onto the 5. Needs to be careful as the 2 could run away behind the red 3, which would scupper things. Yeah, he was worried that was going to happen, so played it harder to ensure the blue 2 came out a little bit further, and that's actually not finished bad at all. Be interesting to see if the 4 now passes. 10 into the bottom left corner. Oh, no, it doesn't. So Dennis is going to have to do something here. Oh, he's elected to stay underneath it with a tricky pot in the center pocket. Maybe a better opportunity for a safety otherwise. Well, it's certainly safe. I don't think Dennis could have got the cue ball closer to the 10, but that will mean that gives the German, Marco SPITZKY, a chance of jumping over. We've seen him make a few good jump shots today already. On this occasion does make the jump legally, but not the pot. And well, this is not a bad look at the 4 into the bottom right for Dennis here. And with good shape on the green 6, you would think, or at least consider him favourite for this 9th rack in this race to 8.
Tricky shot here. Has to make up his mind whether he wants to stay on the low side on the 8 or the high. Oh.
Ooh. Took a bounce, kept a bit of the cue ball spin, and was threatening going behind the 10 there. That would have been very unfortunate. But now left with a stop shot. And, you know, as I was saying, Arya, Marco's break and run in the last rack, you could feel that he was oozing with confidence, but then we're straight over to Dennis's break. And Dennis has delivered on the goods. So it sort of will snuff out the fire, or so it could. And with Dennis getting the second of his set of 2 breaks now, Arya, this is a good chance for him to get that second rack lead and then put the pressure on Marco's break.
Yeah, well, one thing is for certain, from this point on forward, every little detail is now magnified.
Just having a look to see if he's got the potting angle down to this bottom right corner.
Nice line. Decent pace, although, you know, the one real escape on both sides is on. I think he's called the 8. So he'll hit this with a bit of pace, hoping to get it safe. He's got a chance to make the 8.
Oh, I think that one ball was going in the top right where he called it. It just got double kissed by the cue ball. May Karam onto the 8 here. May just roll up behind the 7. And that's not a bad effort at all, are you?
No, not at all. From this camera angle, you'd have to say advantage Marco SPITZKY. This is a tough hit. He's not guaranteed to make contact with the 1. It's looking like 2 or 3 rails. Well, so much so, he's playing the deliberate foul. He's trying to tie up the 4 ball. Failed miserably. Yeah, not so sure about that, Gethin. How do you stand on that? I thought it was worth trying to make contact with the 1.
I do like locking up balls if you feel it's not on, especially if there's a clear pattern for your opponent. In fact, I was going to bring it up earlier when Marco had a push shot and he just tapped the cue ball like half an inch. Didn't really seem to change anything for him. And again, there are opportunities where I've seen some of the players just do what Dennis attempted to do there, locking 2 balls up, so your opponent can't run out clearly. And well, self-inflicted wounds from Marco here. He's put himself in a real spot of bother.
Yeah, no, the shot was obvious, but, you know, he did neither. He didn't lock up the 4. He gave up ball in hand. And, you know, all things considered, he's very fortunate to be at the table. It's not because of playing a perfect shot.
Yep, I don't blame him going for that. And he's kept good shape for this pink 4. And this may be the 2-rack lead that can prove so important for Dennis in closing out this match in his favour. However, after this rack, it will be Marco's break. And the last we saw from him, he broke and ran, so... may not go all Dennis's way, but this rack would certainly put him in good shape.
Yeah, I like how he's played this. Now, in the case of maybe the 7 will follow the 8, have a look at the angle. The cue ball will be going a little bit closer towards the 9. Well, he made sure that he controlled it. But even if it was a bit unlucky, and say the 7 would have dropped as well, this 9 ball is still very makeable. So, you know, the previous positional shot he played there was absolutely perfect. And now, well, like you said, Gethin, odds on favorite to go 6-4 up. Oh, wow. What? I mean, wow. And now the scratch is on, you know, by putting this 9. That cue ball will be tracking towards the bottom right corner pocket. That is a shocker. How's he landed there?
Knew he was going to contact with the 10, so went into it with power. Left a little bit to the pool gods, and by all accounts has not finished too bad at all. It's not a gimme, but this 4-6-4.
He's favourite to make this, but there's a lot of pressure on this.
Yeah, agreed, and you nailed it, Arya. And I did like the point you made back then. I've seen on so many occasions people playing cannons onto balls that are sitting over the pocket, not expecting to pot the ball that they've cannoned it with, and can really leave themselves in in horrible situations. That was very canny play from Dennis there, and well, it nearly still spoilt with the position on the 9 in the end, but he pulled it together. We return for our 11th rack. Dennis Grabe leading 6-4. Marco SPITZKY starts off his set of 2 breaks. Made the 9.
He'll need to come up with the goods here now, Gethin. He's running a little bit out of time. This is an important juncture of the match. It would do him the world of good to restore parity.
Well, I think he was listening to you, Arya. This is a good time for him to take this match by the scruff of the neck. He's going to need to. Converting these 2 breaks would be fantastic news for him. And this one is not looking too bad at all.
No, and in a funny way, sometimes when you miss a good opportunity, which was the case in the previous rack, you know, he hooked himself by bad positional play. That can actually heighten your awareness, your concentration. So I'm sure he'll understand the task at hand. Has to be careful. Needs to convert any chance that comes his way. And it's looking good here. Likely to use 3 rails here.
Yeah. It's good to see. Knows he's still in this match, very much in this match. And I tell you something, Arya, he's not looking too bad for getting his 2nd break in a row. And what a great time to do it.
That shot on the 7 was nicely controlled. It's a bit more trickier than he made it look. Textbook clearance once again.
Great stuff, Arya. Great stuff. Marco SPITZKY takes the first of his set of 2 breaks with a break and run, and brings the score back to 6-5. Just as we look at our other stream table, we'll be bringing you 4 matches on each table today. And just looking at some of the score highlights, it looks like Alex Kazakis is pulling back on the Swede Walter Leica. The Swede still leads 5 racks to 4, but not as big as deficit. Ralph the Kaiser Suke, as a little update on the score, is 6-3 up on the tough Polish player Daniel Maciol. And Mario Hay is 6-4 up over the Chinese Taipei coach player Chue Fu. I'm sure that'll be an exciting match as well. And, well, looks like it's now Dennis's turn to take a break. I'm just going to suggest that we quickly refresh our glasses, and we'll be back with you in a very short time. Please do stay tuned. Well, welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to this men's losers qualification match here at the beautiful Gandia Palace Hotel, just south of Valencia in Spain. You join us for the matchup between Denis Grabe and Marco SPITZKY. Denis is leading 6 racks to 5 in this race to 8. Marco SPITZKY with his second of his set of 2 breaks. My name's Gethin Davis, and in the box with me, Aya Sarabi. Welcome, Aya.
Thanks, Gethin. Fascinating match. To give you a quick summary on what's been going on, just like very recent, the 10th rack, it looked for all the world it's going to be 5-all, when Marco SPITZKY had a great chance. He hooked himself, failed to play position, and Denis managed to grab that rack. He went 6-4 up, so as you can see, there's a lot of pressure on. He can easily put himself on the hill, and that would make him favorite, wouldn't you think, Graham?
Yes. Not only favorite, but he will be getting his break set of 2 breaks back as well, so would put him in the ultimate position. If anything, you've probably pointed out the fact that Marco really must win this rack. Wouldn't be all over if he didn't, but you feel he does need to. And Denis stuck him in a tough safety there, and the way he's looking at getting out of it, I just feel that that encourages a scratch. Or was able to come up behind it for the kick and stick. It's not a bad result, but do you yeah, I'm just wondering if that one will go off the rail, off the 4 and into the corner back.
A lot of elements in that shot.
Well, he's called it. He clearly felt that it would, or it had a chance.
Yeah,
didn't
tied
make
the 2 up ever so slightly.
Yeah. And if he gets up to the 3, it looks pretty nicely lined up for the 3-9 combination. We saw a very nice combination from Marco in the opening rack to free up covered balls.
I don't know where you stand on this, Gethin, but this feels like a must-win rack for me. Because if Denis goes 7-5 up, theoretically you'll have 2 great chances to run out the match on his break.
Yeah, and I've got a feeling Marco realizes that. I think he had fallen out of shape on that. That was a purposeful safety play.
Yeah,
However,
well, we pointed out this when most of these players are very reluctant to use the bridge, and the stroke on on that shot was very lacking conviction, and I believe it's due to the fact that they're just desperately trying to avoid to use the rest, as we call it in England, in the UK. Yeah, it shouldn't be like that. He had a great chance to play a good safety, although it's worked out for him. But that's mainly due to the fact that Denis made a mess of it.
Yeah, he did. Denis didn't get the result he was for, and that's allowed Marco a good look at this clearance. The 6 to the 7 could be funky if there's a window between the 7 the 8 and the 10.
Yeah, I like where
maybe
he was pointing his cue. If he puts his cue ball where he was aiming at, I think it's very easy to cross the table for the 7 into the right middle pocket. It's one of those, yeah, exactly. I think it's a very comfortable shot for these players. You can use the natural angle, a little bit of left spin. Yeah, perfectly played. I like that. The way he went about that was, well, perfect in my eyes. And it's just gone enough of the rail to draw this cue ball back for the 8 in the top right corner pocket. Solid play here by Marco SPITZKY. Yeah, again likely to cross the table towards the right side for the 10 into the left middle bag. Yeah, very good 2 returns by Marco SPITZKY. Managed to hold his serve. And now the pressure is back over to his opponent. Let's not forget, he can still potentially run this match out. He's got 2 breaks. Well, you'll have to produce 2 break and runs. And we've seen so far, it's not because of lack of quality. It's just simply for the fact that the break is proving to be very, very difficult indeed. Interesting time in this match. Great, get in.
Great point to make. Yeah, all the pressure realistically was on Marco in that last rack. Our 12th. And you could argue, as you've pointed out, that the pressure has now shifted somewhat over onto the Estonian shoulders.
Now, what do you do here? Yeah, I was thinking tie up the cue ball behind the 8 and the 6. It's all about pace, this shot. Needs to get cover, and he wants to be as close as possible on the 8 here to make it a real chance to force a mistake from his opponent, although he's called a 1, so maybe he's not 100% convinced. Well, we say
yeah. He can, maybe he's even looking at, yeah, bringing it back across. And that's not bad at all. I was just wondering how close that 4 is to the middle jaw and where he really needs to put that cue ball. He's standing down there like it will go quite easily into the center pocket, but as we've seen so far, ooh, it ain't so easy, or rather forgiving. Ooh, did you see that, Aya? He muscled it in there and kept shape on the 5. This is turning into a nice opportunity. The cluster of 6, 8 and 9 may present a difficulty for him, but we'll have a look now.
yeah, that's still fine. He can use the 9, pot the 6. I think it's in his favor to pot the 6 off the 9. Just push it a bit more downwards. Oh no, he's covered the 7 with the 8. Oh, it's all happening now.
Yep. When other balls are moving, dangers are abound, and this time...
Yeah, no fairness, that's very unfortunate, has to be said. Still makeable though, this combination. Still makeable.
Ho, 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 ho.
Not out of the woods just yet. This is already, again, a little awkward shot. He can cut it in the middle. Cue ball will be running loose, or he puts it into the bottom right corner pocket. Control is guaranteed that way. Nicely played. Well, he's shown some bottle, that's for sure. He was 6-4 down. A little bit self-inflicted as well. Ever since, he's been playing, well, flawless, has to be said. This to put himself on the hill first. And let's not forget, we said this at the top of the program. They have met each other in the winners round 1 in the same tournament. And on that occasion, it was Marco SPITZKY who won by 8-6. Can he repeat that once again?
Is it written in the tea leaves, are you? Well, Dennis Grabe has an opportunity to say something about that. He will break off. It's must win. Marco SPITZKY on the hill, leading 7 racks to 6.
This will be Dennis's final break of the match, so that's, whoa, what a break that is, by the way. Yeah, this is looking like a hill finish. Unless something really uncharacteristic happens, it really should be 7-all at the end of this visit.
Well, if he can just hold for the 2 down into the bottom right, that really is the only immediate problem resolved, as it wouldn't pass the 9 into the top left pocket. And well, I'm with you on this, Aya, without putting too much pressure on the Estonian shoulders. He's had a corker of a break here. Yeah, there really isn't any big problems for him there. However, it will give the deciding rack break to Marco, and Marco has been breaking pretty well towards the latter half of the game, of this match rather.
Yeah, you're right there, Gethin. From 6-4 down, he's played a perfect set of 3 racks, has Marco. So he'll have the break, the final break of the match, assuming this will be 7-all after the end of this visit. But such has been the complexion of this match, you wouldn't put it past this scenario where he breaks, he even makes a good break, but he gets an unfortunate nudge, and we'll have a tactical exchange. Just feels like the type of match, the type of ending that is suitable for this scenario.
Yep. I agree, and if it were to go that way, I will give the balance to Dennis in the safety department today. He seems to have made the better safeties. However, full credit to Marco, he's made some amazing escapes as well. But in open play, there's not really much between them. The scoreline reflecting that. So 2 balls from our hill thriller.
Yeah. 1 rack to decide who will book their place in the last 32. And it's coming your way right now.
It is indeed. Well, a nice fist bump from the 2. As we were saying, Arya, Marco SPITZKY will get the break. How crucial that will turn out to be, well, we're about to find out. Just to give you the quick update from our other table between the Swede Walter Leica and Alex Kazakis. Well, maybe after this match you'll tune in over there. That's currently locked at 5 apiece. But please do not go anywhere yet. The final and deciding rack for a place in the last 32. Marco SPITZKY to break.
Have a look at this. His weight is shifted on his forward leg. It also indicates why he's getting so much topspin in the cue ball.
Ooh.
Now
Not
then,
this time.
You did call it. Dennis, for whatever reason, feels like the favorite now. Unfortunately for Marco, he failed to pot a ball. And this is the type of layout you wouldn't put past Dennis to finish off.
No, not at all. I'm just looking out and surveying the field. The 4. It's not in a bad spot if you can get good shape on the 3. So it's all on Dennis. There is nothing Marco can do from his chair at this point. We'll be hoping to get back to the table, and will this give him a glimmer of hope?
Well, I can tell you this much. There's a lot of pressure on this. So much so, I wouldn't be surprised if he refuses the pot here. Yeah, he's playing safe.
Yeah, the cue ball just came over a little bit too much, or came down the table a bit too much for Dennis there. Wise move, turning down the difficult pot. But we've seen this boy get out of some snookers.
These are tricky to judge, Gethin. I'm not so sure whether he's called the 7 or the 10 into the bottom right. Have a look at this. Have a look at this. And he's actually left a gap, as well. Now, if Dennis can get to a fullish contact from the left side where he is addressing the 4, he could send the 4 up the table, cue ball down the right side of the table and bottom rail, try and hook his opponent with the 10, 7, and the 8. That seems to be the plan here. So, I mean, it looked for all the world Marco SPITZKY hooked his opponent, but he's left a gap there. Or has he? Oh, no. That was deceiving. I thought he left a gap. He didn't. Have a look at this. Even this is not a gimme.
No, it's sort of on the 50-yard line. Again, as you mentioned with Dennis, I wouldn't put it past Marco to play safe in this position, in this crucial point of the match.
No, he's going to attack here. He's trying to pot it in top left. I think he's hoping to cover the pocket if he were to miss it with the 5, but now he went for it full-blooded. And now this is a great chance for Dennis to redeem himself. Retaliation. We said it before. In the winners round 1, he lost against the same opponent, 8-6. Now it's 7-0, and have a look at the layout. There is an argument to say he should go on to win from this point. There's nothing really stopping him from doing so.
I agree. I do feel for Marco there, clearly felt that it was the time to go on the offense. It was a real difficult pot, and playing it at that pace, expecting it to go in and leave shape, was always going to threaten a sellout. Well, he did get his chance in this final rack. But is this Dennis's time?
Yep, it sure looks like it, and well, Marco did have the break and unfortunately failed to make a ball. And I'm sure when he reflects back on his match, he'll figure out there was numerous moments in the match where the momentum shifted in both ways, to be honest. So, you know, he's entitled to be disappointed, that's for sure, but that's the brutality of this game. When you have the break and you fail to convert it, well, you're relying on your opponent, and that's never a good game strategy. Alex Kazakis on the other side of the arena, having a look on this table. This 10, the book is placed in the last 32. And that concludes this match. What a treat it was, Gethin. And thanks for everyone who was watching this.
It's been a great match, Arya. Thank you for joining us, ladies and gentlemen, in this closely fought contest that went to the hill. And against the break of Marco SPITZKY, Dennis Grabe of Estonia was able to take this and progress through to the last 32. Over on our other TV table, if you want to just tune in over there, we still have the matchup taking place between Walter Laika of Sweden and Alex Kazakis of Greece. The next matches being brought to you on this table will be at midday local time. That's an hour and a half. And that will be the men's last 32 and also the women's winners qualification. If you want to keep up to date with all the scores as they're coming in and fixtures, please do visit the EPBF.com website and do set your reminders for midday for this table. It's been my pleasure to bring this match to you with my good friend and colleague Arya Sarabi. We look forward to coming back to you at midday today. Please do stay peeled.